Well, welcome everybody to this is the Hankers, Dr. Hank, and you know what we're here for. We're here for Agent Wealth Network. And this is where we help real estate agents and brokers to increase their business and their wealth. And I just have a fascinating guest on today that with all the rock stars that we've had on previously, and they're, the highest, best brokers and agents doing over $100 million of business and all this good stuff, that virtually every one of them, along with trainers and top trainers in the US and Canada, that every one of them has at some point in the podcast said, and it's all about your mindset. And so today that I am pleased to deliver to you, just in this bundle of joy, Kim Ades. And Kim is the founder and president of Upward Motion. But what I love...
No.
No. Oh, I'm sorry.
I used to be the president and founder of Upward Motion. I am now the president and founder of Frame of Mind Coaching.
And well, I was getting to that, but okay, good, yeah. And so, but those are the magic words that we want, is the Frame of Mind Coaching. And Kim, welcome to the show. And what's going on, girl?
Oh, it's already so much fun to be here with you. You're giddy and you're excited, so I'm excited to be here right with you.
Well, that's fantastic. Society has basically told all of us when we were bringing up, and they had good intentions, our parents and teachers and everything, that basically they were saying you have to work hard, you have to do. And so some of us have broken out of that and realized that that wasn't really the truth on how life plays, if you will, and how to get the most out of life. And because if you just do, you end up getting do. And many people have experienced that in their life where they're not very happy because they've been doing all of this and having all of this energy going towards the doing, when really about 99% of everything that we have is through our thought. So can you help us, first of all, kind of take us back into how did you realize that it's all about the frame of mind? What got you from kind of doing to frame of mind?
So here's what's interesting is actually that I have a little bit of a background in the real estate world. I don't know if you knew that. So let me take you back to me. Oh gosh, at this point, it's nearly 24 years ago. I started this company called Upward Motion, as you mentioned earlier. And
Yes.
What we did at Upward Motion is we used to build simulation-based assessments, and the purpose of those assessments was to help companies make better hiring decisions. One of the products we built was called the Real Estate Simulator.
Wow.
And it grew to be, at the time, first of all, it was a leading edge product because simulation wasn't that cool at the time, right?
Yeah.
And what we did was we allowed people to experience what it was like to play the role of a real estate agent and see whether or not they would be good at the job by interacting with virtual clients who are interested in buying or selling property. And as they went through the simulation, their actions would be tracked and then compared with top performers. And so that's what we did. And it grew to be quite a significant product in the real estate space for recruiting, selection, and training new agents. So why am I saying this is because we collected a lot of data. And what we started to understand is what is the true differentiator between super top performers and everyone else. We were testing for their intelligence, we were testing for their skills, we were testing for their personality traits, but what is it really that makes the difference? And yes, sure, intelligence is important, and being a warm and outgoing is also important, but not nearly as important as one key characteristic. We discovered that people who had a higher degree of emotional resilience were more likely to succeed than other people. So what is emotional resilience? Emotional resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity with speed and agility and actually leverage the adversity, do something good with it, turn it into an advantage. And so So I built this company. We were working with a variety of industries, but one of the major industries was real estate. So I got to know a lot of people in the real estate industry, a lot of
Great.
brokers, a lot of agents. I used to go to every single real estate conference known to man. And my life took an interesting turn because I owned that business with two partners. One of them is now my ex-husband. And so I kind of switched gears after a period of time when we were running the business together. And I ended up selling my shares, and I ended up getting recruited by a coaching company in the real estate industry because I knew a lot of people in real estate.
Yeah.
And I started to watch how coaching is done traditionally. And how is coaching done? It's really about what are your goals? Let's create a plan, a business plan, and let's take that business plan and break that down into manageable components. And as your coach, I'm going to hold you accountable and make sure you get everything done week by week, month by month. And when I saw this model, I thought something about it doesn't sit right with me. Right? It kind of felt like something was off. And I thought, I think that if I put 50 real estate agents in a room and ask them, what are you supposed to do in order to succeed? They could all create for me a very similar plan. And it's not that they don't know what to do. They're simply not getting it done. So the question is why? What's holding them up? What's getting in the way? And I started to understand that their emotional resilience was at stake. Their emotional resilience wasn't fortified. And so they knew what they were supposed to be doing, but something made it difficult for them to get it done. And that had to do with their thinking. It had to do with their beliefs. It had to do with their view of the world, but more importantly, their view of themselves. And I thought to myself, what if I create a different kind of coaching company? One that's not so much about the doing, not one that's not so much about creating a business plan and making sure I hold people accountable to the doing actions. But what if I could go on a journey with people to really understand how their thinking was impacting their results? What if I could understand the beliefs that were fundamentally limiting their success and help them move those beliefs over and trade them up for better beliefs? What if I could rewire the individual and turn them into high-performing thinkers? Because
Magic.
Right? First we think, then we do. Right? We think before we behave. And very often we skip the thinking part. We just go to the doing part. And we believe that if we just do things differently, our outcomes will change. But that's contradictory. Because if you do things differently, but your thinking remains the same, your results remain the same.
I'll be darned. And so you can discover people's beliefs and the limiting beliefs that they have?
So what I did was I created this coaching company called Frame of Mind Coaching that was designed exclusively to focus on people's thinking and their beliefs. And so, but how do we get to people's beliefs? Because a big, big problem is that if we know that beliefs really are the guide or hold dominion, are the fundamental issue that drives people's behaviors, but we can't see what those beliefs are, we have a problem, right? So my job was to say, how do I surface your beliefs? How do I get to the root of them? How do I start to see your patterns and understand how those patterns are driving your outcomes? So what I did was I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to work together very, very closely. So not just once a week. We're going to work together every day. And here's how it's going to work. We're going to have a phone call once a week. I'm going to record the call so that you can listen to it. Why? Because when you start to hear the words you use, the stories you tell, the things that trigger your emotions, you start to become aware of how you think, right? So we want to increase your awareness. And then what we want to do is we want to start to collect a lot of data about how you think across a whole bunch of different scenarios. So I started to get my clients to journal in a private online journal with me, the coach. So they were journaling every single day, no days off, no weekends, no vacations. Why?
What do I journal about?
So I would give you a journaling question or a prompt at the beginning of the week. Every time you journal, it goes back to the coach who then asks more questions and digs further. What are we digging for? We're trying to get to the source of your beliefs.
Yes. Wow.
right? How are your beliefs controlling your outcomes? And if you're not happy with your outcomes, let's trade in your beliefs for something that's far more aligned with your goals and your desires.
I like that. Trade in your beliefs that I sometimes share on. Actually, I have a whole success unit on. It is done on you as you believe, and to look at people's beliefs. And you have some beliefs that serve you, and then some beliefs that don't serve you. And you basically are identifying the beliefs that don't serve, and to create new beliefs that do serve. Is that correct?
Correct. And we're also, of
Awesome.
course, identifying beliefs that do serve and saying, where did that come from? How do we get more of that?
Yeah, for sure,
Right?
for sure.
So the experience is deep and transformational and sustainable. So we're not just changing your little action so that you can get one goal. We're
Yeah.
changing your whole entire wiring so that you can achieve any goal you want.
That is awesome. How long does that typically take to start seeing results or changing some
Well,
beliefs?
we work with people for a minimum of 6 months, but we start to see change in the first 10 weeks because it's such an intense and intimate process. And my goal, like I work with the highly driven population, people who really want to move to a new place, right?
Yeah.
They like speed. They want to see results fast. That is
Right.
why we work with them every day because we want to see results fast too.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you um, I work with people exclusively who want to accomplish extraordinary achievements and extraordinary achievements, and that is right on it. And so you take them. So in 6 months, then I mean, they've changed their lives. And does it affect their business and personally, or how does that play it?
Yes, it affects everything. It affects their relationships, it affects their health, it affects their blood pressure, it affects their business, it affects their revenue, it affects their vacation time, it affects absolutely it affects how they handle adversity. You know, like the other day I got a message from one of my clients saying my grandmother just died. Any advice? Right? So it affects how you show up to some of the most difficult, challenging emotional moments of your life. It
Yeah,
affects everything you see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. It
yeah,
affects your perspective on everything. It affects how you go to the airport and stand in line,
yeah,
right? It
yeah.
affects everything.
Yeah, absolutely. It's what under the Christian religion, it's to start seeing through Christ's eyes, and that you just start seeing the world differently, where you see everything is good. In fact, this contrast that you're talking about, this adversary, the things that we don't want, the problems that they really are the blessings that help birth us to a better life, and that's difficult. Most of us get let's say a deal goes south, that we tell other people about the deal going south. We Facebook the deal going south. And what you're doing is, without realizing it, you're actually making it bigger and you're going to attract more deals going south. And so my counsel to people is you just emotionally touch that. And so you say, hey, that deal went south. And so that's what I don't want. And then Christ said, turn the other cheek. And when I was a child, and I first heard that my father was fairly abusive, emotionally and physically. So I thought when you got slapped on one cheek, you just turn the other one to get slapped on the other. But what I recognize is it's really that when you to turn the other cheek, it's that you just look at what I don't want, the bad deal going south. That's what I don't want. And then you look towards, what do I want? And when you ask that question, ask and you shall receive. And so now you'll start getting the flow of those answers, and you'll start creating and thinking more about the things that you do want. Is that
That's
is
exactly it, but let me say it a little differently because,
right?
and I want to kind of ask you some questions in a minute, but let me say that a
Sure.
little differently. I use the concept of playing basketball, right? We're on the basketball court. There are a lot of players. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of action. It's coming, going, back, forth, etc. You
Yeah.
get the ball. One of the things you have to do first, the minute you get the ball, is go, okay, wait a second. Where's the net that I'm supposed to score in? Am I
Yeah.
turned in the direction of the net? Because sometimes you catch the ball and you're turned in the wrong direction. So the
Yeah.
first question you have when you get that ball, Whatever
Yeah.
that ball is
Right.
where's my net. And so you want to
Yeah.
literally pivot
Right. Yeah.
towards the net. What's the goal? What do I want? Where am I going? And very
Whoa.
often we find that people are holding the ball and they're turned towards and heading towards the wrong net, right? And the first thing we want to do is say, hold on a second, which direction are you pointed in? Let's turn you
Yeah.
around. Let's turn
I
you towards where you want to be going as
I
opposed to where you
love it.
don't want to be going. So I say it a little bit differently, but we're exactly on the same wavelength. Speaking
Yeah.
of which,
Yeah.
Dr. Hank, all this is not that new to you, right?
Right.
You are very exposed, and I could tell by the language you're using. So,
Yeah.
like, where did you pick all this stuff up from? You mentioned before that you're pretty tuned in, so I want to kind of leave it to you.
Yeah,
What?
well, it really was all that controversy, that contrast, the things that I didn't want, those problems. And I actually wrote a book about it called The Happiest Man in the World. And what it did is it started from my childhood and my abusive father, whatever. And instead of like crying about it or saying, oh, this was just terrible, that I was able to see the blessings in that. And then growing up, and I mean, I really went through some emotional times as a teenager. I got a woman pregnant and, girl pregnant, and, she ended up getting an abortion. I had guilt over that and went into the army, and was my life was being threatened. I ended up working the CIA and all kinds of things in Korea, but in all those life experiences, that I realized that it was birthing a better life for me. And so what I was able to do, and then I had a lot of training, and so I actually went, and my PhD is in mental science. And but before then, I wanted to understand this God thing, because really all of us, each of us, have a different definition of God. And so depending on what that definition is, it's back to your teachings, Kim, on to understand that, whatever your understanding of God. So, for example, you think God is a guy up in a place called heaven. He's got a white T-shirt on with big G on his shirt.
Does
And
he
long,
have clothes? I don't know.
and long gray hair, and then he's pointing down and judging you. That that becomes a pretty fearful life, and that trying to get the recommendation, the approval of something, but you don't even know what that approval is. And so, because of through my life experiences, through my education, and finally through my feelings, that I was able to discover, and really I looked within me, and I realized that my whole guidance system, and for every one of us, for our lives, our guidance system is our feelings. And so we're being guided by source energy or God or the universe, whatever term you want or definition that you have, that we're always being guided. And it's as easy as this. When I'm not feeling good, so let's pretend that this kind of happened, that before we came back down here, that we said to God, so now tell me, how are we going to communicate? Is it going to be English, or is it going to be Spanish? And God says, oh, no, we're not doing any of that. Hey, by the way, that drink looks good.
Just water.
It was so colorful. I love it. And so we say, what language? And God says, oh, no, we're not going to, be doing that at all, communicate that way, because it's not a very effective way. What we're going to do is I'm going to be communicating with you every moment of every day, and I'm going to do that with your feelings. And so when you feel that, it means that you are not looking at this as God is, as Christ is, as however you want to look at that you are not looking at that right. When you feel good, you're on your lighted path. And we all have the power within this one moment, right now, in any moment, regardless of any situation and circumstances that we have in our life, to be able to feel good. And so for us to be able to and I have a actual technique called the Joy Shop in the morning to help change the way people think. And it literally changes their thought process. So every morning they read this Joy Shop that's just a couple of pages, and then they start writing down a couple of things on what they want. So to be clear on what they want. In the last 24 hours, what they appreciate. Because see, we're so focused, we've been taught to, come home and say to our spouse or whoever, how was your day? Oh, this bad thing happened, that bad thing happened. And so we have a tendency to look at the bad and overshadow it no matter how many good things. So when you discipline your mind to only look for the good, you'll not only see that good, but you'll start attracting more good things. And by good, it's really wanted things, because there really is no good or bad. There's wanted and unwanted, and all depends on the wanted. So that's how I got into all of this. But it all started by my life experiences, and to be able to experience, and really the tragedies, what most people would call tragedies of that. And I think probably my most recent experience, that was really, they call me the walking miracle, and that's where I was told by other people. So here's the other thing: is not only is it our own thoughts, but it's the influence of other people's thoughts. And so now I have doctors. This was 2 years ago, that I have doctors after a car accident that totaled my car and totaled my body. And I had doctors telling me that I'm a Vietnam veteran. And so the VA was telling me that I would be paralyzed for the rest of my life from my waist down. And I just didn't want to believe that God of other people's opinions, Kim.
Right.
And so I decided that I'm going to honor instead God's opinion. And so I just started to visualize me walking and being healthy. And one day I felt a little energy in my little toe. And I just took that energy and just thought about that energy. Didn't think about what the doctors were talking about. Didn't think about that most of my legs weren't operating. There was no energy, flowing through them. Instead, I just focused on that little toe and that energy. And every moment, and then every day, and every week, and every month. And I just started to move that energy, or we started, God and I started to move that energy up my leg, across my waist, down my other. And now I'm a walking miracle.
So
and
let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question.
You
But
bet.
we're exposed to a lot of negative people. And, I know because I work with a lot of clients who have that exposure, right? A lot of people who kind of call themselves realistic, right? They call themselves, people who face the facts of life.
Right.
And they look at their bank account, like, take a look. It's a black and white issue. It's not up for debate. There's nothing in my bank account. This is not something I can visualize into my experience, right?
Right.
So how do you respond to that? And more importantly, how do you tune out the naysayers? How do you tune out the people who say you're never going to walk? And that's your reality. You have to face reality.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
Well, so I love the question, because I actually have one of my more famous, if you will, quotes, and that is that I never face reality. Instead, I create reality. And so we're talking about mindset here, and that everything that our checking account and what that balance is or isn't, that whether how anything is at this moment, it actually is the manifestation of thought previously. So it's just previous thought that has manifested. So what we're looking at now just changed. It just went into, now, you keep on going. So you can change your reality.
So let me say that in English for people.
Sure.
What you're thinking now is literally like planting seeds for what will grow tomorrow.
Beautiful. We're farmers.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right.
We're farmers.
So that is why it's so important for you to have mastery or hold dominion over your thinking. You need to start becoming aware of how your thinking is impacting you, and then decide how you want it to impact you, because there are so few things that are in your control, right?
Absolutely.
But your thinking and your beliefs are in your control. And so while you try to manipulate and control all those elements out there in the world, your client, the commission rate, all those things, I would say to you, start by taking control of your thinking, and start more even before that by becoming aware of your thinking and what it's doing to you, how it's affecting you, how it's impacting your outcomes, your results, your relationships, your mood, all of that. Right?
Absolutely.
So right now, today, whatever you're thinking is planting seeds for tomorrow.
Sure. And specifically, let's relate it to real estate. That I know some real estate agents that have the belief that you have to discount from the normal 3% with what the norm, and so they just believe this. And if it's relatives, they even believe it more so to where they're instead of go to 2%, 1%. And I said, you don't understand that your beliefs are creating this. That if you go to your relatives and say, listen, you're going to get a deal of all deals right now because you're going to get the best service ever, and it's going to be at the regular price. I'm not going to charge you any extra. I'm not going to charge you 4%, 5%. That this is how much I love you and what I care for you, that I'm going to give you this great service and I'm not going to charge you any extra. And so it's that mindset, and to be able to just turn around those things. So when you think like there isn't any inventory out there, that you're going to find no inventory, but there were just in DFW, Dallas here, there were 12,000 homes sold last month. So there's plenty of inventory. It's all a matter of whether or not you're going to go after that inventory, or you're going to believe the God of other people's opinion that there isn't enough inventory. Right. And that God is a small g, the God of other people's That's opinion.
Right. So you and I actually speak the same language.
We do.
Yeah, we do.
Namaste. Yeah. So tell us, how would we? Because this is, I know that all of us are realizing that, that's probably true. Thoughts become things. That's another great, way to look at this, is that what you and I are talking about is real for all of us. It impacts all of us, and thoughts do become things. So how would we get a hold of you, and kind of how does that process work? And you told us a little, but can you tell us a little bit more about
so the best thing to do is to go to our website, frameofmindcoaching.com. And on that website, there's an invitation to take what's called an assessment, the Frame of Mind Coaching Assessment. And what that does is it does two things. Number one, it says, where are you standing right now? Which direction are you pointed in? And what we're doing is we're asking you a series of questions, including journaling questions. So it helps us to establish your starting point. It's kind of like if you say, hey, Kim, how do you get to Greece? I say, well, where are you now? Right? So the directions aren't the same for everyone. So we want to understand your starting point. The second thing we want you to do is to start to understand how your beliefs operate. And so this assessment is a starting point for saying, oh my God, I didn't even know I believe these things to be true. So you start to open the window and see what your beliefs are. So once you take that assessment, you end up getting invited to a call with one of our team members here who will then go over the assessment with you. And the purpose is to start to shed light on your thinking and how your thinking is impacting the outcomes you're getting professionally and personally in your life. So it's a very powerful experience, even without any coaching. It's what happens before coaching. And of course, if you're interested in coaching, we're happy to talk to you about that too.
Sure. Right. And can you share with us, because people, we are in this physical world where we unfortunately rely on it too much and don't realize it's really our mental world and then our feelings that create all of this. But what type of results do you get, like from a real estate agent, for example? Can you give us some some understanding of, or a broker or whatever
So we've worked with lots and lots of people in the real estate in the industry, both brokers and real estate professionals. We see people who are managers winning awards. We see real estate agents sometimes moving to different companies, and suddenly their business increases dramatically. We see people who are top performers in their companies. We see people who say, hey, I'm a real estate broker, but what I really want to do is I want to be on stage and I want to teach. And so we see that happening. We see people living their lives and doing the things that really, really turn them on and light them up in real estate, out of real estate. We see them connecting with the right kinds of clients. We see them letting go of the wrong kinds of clients. We see them being at peace with what it is
Yeah.
they're doing and inviting the right things to come their way. And we see a lot more lightness. So people who have a hard time with whatever they think they need to do, we make it easier for them.
Yes, yes. We really add that whole stress on there on making it hard. That we think, oh, this is going to be hard, and right away you planted these seeds, and so we're back to as farmers that what kind of seeds are you planting, and so are you planting the hard ones or the easy ones? And so I always like to say, like I say to people and to all of us, for myself and as well, so I say, lighten up. Let's all lighten up.
I say that too.
Then, of course,
you know what
do.
I say? You know what I
What?
say? I say,
What?
chill out, man. Just relax.
Yeah,
Right?
nothing really all this serious. We came here in order to have a joyous experience. And because, again, our upbringing that has brought us into these beliefs and whatever, and nobody has taught, by the way, your teaching or my teaching, which is in essence the same teaching, that's never taught in college or in high school or as a kid or by parents. And it's the most important thing, because really we wouldn't need any of this education. Many people are very successful without much education, and so how can that be? Well, it's all based on their beliefs, and that if they think, hey, I can do it, you don't need you, we each have everything we need right here and right now in order to be wildly successful. But really what we're after, the success is nice, but we're after being happy. And so we have this power to be happy. And I loved your word, Kim, that you used on peace. And that, for all of us wouldn't each one of you like to have peace? And so I'd like you right now to everybody to just write down right now on, what do you want? What is important? And while you're writing, frameofmindcoaching.com, and take the free, assessment just to get started on this, because it's back to this. This is now the inspired action. And so everybody, is saying, oh, you got to work hard, work hard, work hard. And it really isn't that way. You have to think, and so you think easy. And then as you think that you get to this point where you recognize an inspired action. And so one inspired action is frame of mind coaching. Another one, me being with eXp Realty, is dochankwebinar.com. If you would like to have a new experience, more revenue, more of this success, like you had mentioned there, Kim, on how do you, when you switch brokers, sometimes you become very successful. And what I've seen is I've literally seen thousands of agents switched over, and so the whole story is at that dochankwebinar.com. But it's this inspired action. If you really want to have more, if you want to build your business, if you want to have better relationships, that call on Kim, call on the Hankers, that either one of us, that we're here in order to help you. So other thoughts, Kim?
Yeah, you know what? I hear what you're doing and I hear what you're saying, and there's a part of me that says, hey, you want to join my team, Dr. Hank? You'd be a great coach. But there are two things. Number one is you gave people an assignment, and it's funny, you're stealing my thunder today. I'm fine. But
oh no, you're thunder, girl. You got the thunder.
I'll tell you, I give people an assignment, and I'm going to add to your assignment if that's okay.
Oh, great.
So I often give the assignment, and maybe you can do, you know what, we're going to play this very interesting game. I've never done it before, but we're going to do it, okay?
That's
so here it is. Write down what you really, really want, okay? So Dr. Hank just said write down what you want, but I'm adding to it. It's not just what you want. It's what you really, really want. In other words, not what somebody else wants for you, not what you think you should want, not what is conventionally expected of you, but what do you really, truly, deeply want inside of your heart? That's question number one. Question number two is, why don't you have it right now? What's getting in the way? And what we want to do is ask that question, because that is the seed to understanding the beliefs that are standing in the way of your success. And then you're going to send it to two of us. Usually I just ask you to send it to me. But this time you're going to send it to Dr. Hank too. Dr. Hank, what is your email address?
It's a real easy one. It's drhank@drhank.biz, B-I-Z. So it's basically Dr. Hank at drhank.biz.
Perfect. And you're going to CC me, or you're going to send it to me too. It's Kim
Yeah.
at frameofmindcoaching.com.
Okay.
And you're going to get a response from both of us. Sorry, Dr.
Exactly.
Hank. I'm reeling you into my plan.
Of course, I'm excited.
Okay.
I'm honored to be in that plan.
And we are going to respond to your journal and start helping you see how your thinking is impacting you. How's that for a plan?
Oh, that's a plan of a plan. And I know all of you out there that this just feels good, doesn't it? And as long as it feels good, you just know that, hey, and Kim and I are here with, we lead with heart. We have open hearts here, and that we want to be able to serve and to love the world, uplift the world. And, as we uplift ourselves, so the whole world is uplifted. And so we're uplifted. We want to uplift you, and then you'll be able to just whisk away to uplift all kinds of people. It's kind of like a spinning top, and that your vibration, that as you do this assignment, that what you're going to do is you're going to just come to a higher vibration, and then it's kind of like you're on this merry-go-round, and the people you don't really like, or the bad deals you don't like, whatever, that you're up here so high that nobody can get on. It's kind of like kids when you were on the merry-go-round and it was going too fast, and one kid tried to get on and he got thrown into the bushes, and he's fine and everything. But know that you're going to just start vibrating on this wonderful path of success and happiness and joy and love and deep, meaningful relationships, and good feeling thoughts, and that you're going to be on there and be on that merry-go-round that's going to attract even more people, and you will uplift then more and more people. Because like, if I'm poor, I can't help the poor, right? And so we want to all be able to be rich, and not just rich in money, but rich in everything, and especially our open hearts and our open minds. And that, our minds are like a parachute, that when it's open, it works a lot better. So let's open our minds to this and at least give it a shot. Because, otherwise we're just going to keep on doing what we've been doing and keep on getting those results. And they may be pretty good. I know many of you are very successful, but I know also all of you want a little bit more. Right, Kim? So I love the exercise. Any other thoughts or comments?
You know what? I'm happy to talk to anybody who wants to talk. I'm happy to look at anybody who's maybe successful in one area in their lives and struggling in another. And that's what we find a lot of times, is that people who are super successful also make a lot of sacrifices in order to get there. And we want to help you live a life where you don't have to make sacrifices. So if there's anything going on for any of you and you want to talk to someone and work through it, please reach out.
Oh my goodness. Well, you're just, we'll call you Angelic Kim. That is just so beautiful. And so for all of you, that I want to thank each of you for tuning in today and meeting Kim and hearing about how this idea about taking these negative circumstances and being able to handle it with agility and grace, and to be able to have a frame of mind that brings this happiness to you and brings the success that you want to you. And so with that, this is Dr. Hank from Agent Wealth Network, wishing you all the success and the good frame of mind to have all your dreams come true. Kim, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you. It was so fun.
It was. Love you guys. Bye-bye. We're out of here. Until next week.